Most of the roles I got, people came after me. Universal, I helped write the pictures, put them on, so I never experienced that.
The name Robin Williams evokes memories of uncontrollable laughter, wild improvisations, and a voice that could slip seamlessly from joy to anguish in a heartbeat. He was the man who could embody 1,000 characters at once, a genie in a lamp, a teacher in a classroom, a lost soul on a park bench. But behind the whirlwind of humor and brilliance was a man quietly battling shadows no audience could see. Millions adored him, his laughter a balm for countless hearts, his energy seemingly endless. He won an Academy Award, Golden Globes, Emmys, and countless other accolades, yet the applause could never reach the depths of his own pain. Williams was, to the world, a force of comedic genius, but behind the manic energy, the contagious smile, and the improvisational brilliance lay a fragile human being, a man haunted by depression, addiction, and anxiety. He could make audiences weep with laughter while silently weeping himself, caught in a cycle of highs and lows, of boundless creativity and profound despair. Every laugh on screen, every frenzied gesture, carried echoes of the inner turmoil he could never fully escape. Robin's daughter, Zelda Williams, has often reflected on the paradox of a father whose warmth and humor hid a lifelong struggle, a struggle that would ultimately claim him despite all the joy he gave the world. To understand Robin Williams, one must peer beyond the curtain of applause and glittering awards, beyond the manic energy that seemed limitless. Beneath the laughter was a man shaped by loss, insecurity, and a relentless internal battle. A man who found solace in the joy of others, even as he fought to hold himself together. His story is one of brilliance and heartbreak, a story that reminds us that even those who bring light to millions can carry darkness within. Robin McLaurin Williams was born on July 21, 1951 in Chicago, Illinois, to Robert Fitzgerald Williams and Lori McLaurin. The youngest of 3 children, he entered a household that appeared on the surface comfortable and secure, but beneath the veneer were subtle tensions and silent struggles. His father, a senior executive in the advertising industry, was often absent, consumed by work and perfectionist tendencies. His mother, a former model and philanthropist, carried an air of elegance that contrasted with the chaos bubbling just beneath the surface of family life. Robin's relationship with his father was complicated, marked by the tension between admiration and fear. Though Robert instilled discipline and expectation, the emotional distance left Robin yearning for approval that always seemed just out of reach. Early childhood for Robin was marked by sensitivity and acute awareness of the world around him. He noticed the subtle undercurrents of emotion in people, a skill that would later serve him as an actor, but also one that made him prone to anxiety and self-doubt. His earliest memories included both warmth and melancholy. Summer vacations, filled with laughter and play, but also quiet nights where the shadow of adult expectations weighed heavily on him. William's older siblings were loving but absorbed in their own lives, leaving Robin to navigate much of his formative years alone. This solitude, while lonely, became a crucible for imagination. Robin discovered, almost instinctively, that humor was a lifeline. He would mimic teachers, invent characters, and improvise voices to amuse classmates and diffuse tension at home. Comedy was both shield and companion, allowing him to navigate social anxieties and family expectations. Yet even in these moments of laughter, the seeds of a lifelong struggle with mood and self-worth were quietly taking root. The duality of joy and pain was present from the beginning. A boy who could make others laugh, but felt deeply the weight of the world around him. School offered both refuge and challenge. Williams excelled academically, but often felt like an outsider among his peers. His hyperactive mind raced faster than most could keep up with, and his boundless energy sometimes drew ridicule. the tension between his inner brilliance and external awkwardness created a fertile ground for the comic persona that would later define him. Early teachers recognized his talent for performance, yet even these early accolades could not fully shield him from the emotional undercurrents he carried. By adolescence, Robin had already begun to understand that laughter could heal, both for others and, fleetingly, for himself. Robin's teenage years marked the first real glimpses of the genius he would become. He immersed himself in theater and performance, discovering the exhilarating freedom of becoming someone else entirely, even for a moment. At Redwood High School in California, he shone in school plays, capturing audiences with improvisation and a natural charisma that belied his internal anxieties. Humor became both armor and compass, a way to connect, to survive, and to assert control over a world that often felt overwhelming. During these formative years, Robin began experimenting with characters, voices, and impressions that would later populate his stage and screen performances. Friends and teachers noticed a spark of magic in the way he could transform mundane dialogue into a whirlwind of comic energy. Yet behind the stage lights, Robin wrestled with perfectionism and fear of failure. His relentless drive to entertain masked a deep-seated vulnerability. He feared being ordinary, unnoticed, or unloved. College offered another stage, both literally and figuratively. At Claremont Men's College and later at the College of Marin, Robin studied drama and honed his craft, exploring stand-up comedy and improvisation. His performances revealed a natural rhythm and spontaneity, a brilliance that would later captivate millions. Yet even amidst applause and recognition, he often felt like an outsider peering into the lives of those who seemed effortlessly confident. The tension between his talent and his insecurities, between the public delight he generated and the private storm within, was already becoming central to his identity. By the time he moved to New York to study at the prestigious Juilliard School, Robin Williams had discovered a truth that would guide his career. The ability to make others laugh could transform pain into connection. Humor, he realized, was both weapon and shield, and the stage offered a sanctuary where his vulnerabilities could be transformed into brilliance. In this early spark, the young man who would become a legend had begun to understand the alchemy of comedy, turning personal anguish into universal joy. The world knew Robin Williams as a whirlwind of energy, a master of improvisation, and a man whose laughter seemed endless. Television audiences fell in love with his manic charm in Mork and Mindy, while filmgoers marveled at his ability to balance comedy and drama in roles like Good Morning, Vietnam, and Dead Poets Society. He was celebrated for his lightning-fast wit, physical comedy, and boundless imagination. Yet behind the characters, the voices, and the infectious humor, Robin battled demons that no one on set could fully comprehend. Depression, anxiety, and addiction cast long shadows over his life. The same energy that fueled his performances often masked exhaustion and inner turmoil. While the world applauded his brilliance, he struggled to find moments of peace. Interviews and public appearances revealed flashes of insight into his inner life. Quick laughs interspersed with moments of melancholy, but the depth of his pain remained largely invisible. Robin's comedy, at once liberating and exhausting, was his method of survival, his way to bridge the gap between the inner chaos and the audience's expectations. Even the accolades that should have provided solace offered only fleeting reprieve. Williams won an Academy Award for Good Will Hunting, yet the triumph could not quiet the persistent voices of self-doubt. Fame brought admiration, wealth, and opportunity, but also scrutiny, pressure, and a magnified sense of inadequacy. He sought refuge in performance, alcohol, and ultimately substances that promised temporary escape. Through it all, his artistry never waned. He transformed suffering into creativity, ensuring that audiences witnessed brilliance even when he himself felt broken. The contrast between Robin Williams, the public figure, and Robin Williams, the private man, became a defining feature of his life. His performances were at once a testament to his genius and a shield against the relentless internal battles that plagued him. He could lift others from despair while quietly grappling with the same shadows. In this duality, public laughter versus private pain, Robin lived the paradox of a life that brought joy to millions but carried an unbearable personal toll. Those closest to Robin often saw what the world could not. Zelda Williams, his daughter, has spoken candidly about the father she adored. A man of incredible warmth, humor, and love, yet a man whose internal struggles were relentless. She described the tension of living alongside someone whose genius was inseparable from his vulnerabilities. A father who could make a room roar with laughter, yet return home burdened by fear, guilt, and depression. Friends and collaborators echoed these sentiments. Fellow actors, comedians, and directors remarked on Robin's unpredictability, brilliance, and empathy, noting that beneath the manic energy lay a profound sensitivity. He absorbed the pain of others, mirrored it, and transformed it into art. His generosity, creativity, and humor were inseparable from his private battles, forming a dual existence that few could navigate. Robin himself occasionally reflected on this paradox in interviews, hinting at the tension between public perception and private reality. He recognized the irony of being able to inspire joy in millions while struggling to find it for himself. These revelations from family and friends complete the picture of a man whose life cannot be reduced to a single narrative. Robin Williams was not only a performer, not only a comic genius, he was a human being wrestling with the fragility and complexity inherent in every life. Through the voices of those who knew him intimately, we see the man behind the legend, loving, generous, brilliant, fragile, and deeply human. His struggles were real, persistent, and ultimately tragic. Yet they also informed the very brilliance that left an indelible mark on the world, ensuring that the legacy of Robin Williams will forever be intertwined with both laughter and sorrow. Robin Williams's life reminds us that the line between genius and fragility is often impossibly thin. He gave the world joy that was immediate, exuberant, and enduring, yet carried burdens unseen, battles fought quietly in the shadow of applause. His story is not one of contradiction, but of coexistence. Brilliance alongside suffering, laughter alongside tears. To share the private struggles of Robin Williams is not to diminish his legacy, but to complete it. Understanding the depth of his humanity, the fears, the anxieties, the moments of despair, allows us to appreciate even more fully the courage it took to face the world each day and bring joy to others despite the cost. His laughter was genuine, but it was also armor. His performances were brilliance, but they were also survival. In remembering Robin Williams, we are reminded of the fragile humanity behind every icon, the complexity that often remains hidden behind fame and applause. He transformed personal pain into collective joy, leaving a legacy that is both inspiring and heartrending. The little boy who once sought refuge in imagination and humor grew into a man who shared that refuge with the world, even as he navigated his own darkness. Robin Williams's story is one of duality, resilience, and the enduring power of empathy. It is a story that teaches us that even those who seem larger than life carry shadows, that laughter can coexist with sorrow, and that the heart of a true artist is often both brilliant and broken. His memory endures not just for the laughter he inspired, but for the humanity he embodied. A reminder that even in our brightest moments, we are all profoundly human. Behind the laughter and the applause, Robin Williams waged a quiet but relentless war with addiction. Substances that initially promised relief gradually became chains, tightening around the man who had once brought joy to millions. Alcohol and prescription drugs offered temporary reprieve from the anxiety, depression, and insomnia that haunted him, but the relief was fleeting. leaving him even more fragile than before. Williams's battle was not a result of moral weakness, but of a deeply human attempt to cope with pain that fame and talent could not erase. Friends and colleagues often noticed the erratic patterns, the sudden bursts of energy followed by periods of withdrawal or deep sadness. The very traits that made him a brilliant performer, hyperactivity, rapid-fire improvisation, and emotional sensitivity, also made him vulnerable to the seductive relief of substances. His addiction was a paradoxical reflection of his genius. The same creativity and intensity that fueled his performances fueled the cycles of self-destruction. Family, while supportive, often witnessed moments of despair that the public never saw. Zelda Williams described the terrifying uncertainty of knowing that the man who made her laugh as a child could also be consumed by darkness moments later. It was a battle fought in private, away from cameras and audiences, a war Robin waged, silently while continuing to give the world the appearances of boundless joy. Yet even amidst addiction, Robin's brilliance never dimmed. His humor remained lightning quick, his improvisational genius intact. He could transform personal suffering into comedy, creating performances that made audiences laugh uncontrollably while he himself struggled to stand on his own feet. Addiction, in many ways, became another layer of the duality of his existence: public genius, private turmoil. His struggle reminds us that behind the charm and talent can reside vulnerability that is often invisible, even to those closest to him. Depression and anxiety were constant companions for Robin Williams, shaping not only his personal life, but also his artistry. Despite the warmth and energy he radiated on screen, he often felt isolated, unable to communicate the depth of his suffering. The pressures of fame, combined with lifelong sensitivity to emotional stimuli,